It's always easy keeping oaths and promises in the light of day, in predictable, everyday life. But when darkness comes, only your survival instinct can guide your decisions.
He couldn't make it, sir.
Mud and the smell of death are friends who will always judge you. Can your own suffering redeem you for decisions that are never completely right?
Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to War Hospital. This game is set to release at the time that you're going to be watching this video, so it's now available on Steam and multiple other platforms as well. This is going to be a really interesting title for me. It's a strategy simulation game. It's World War I era, the Great War, but it's not fought from the front lines. It's not your typical first-person shooter. It's a pure strategy game. This very much falls in line with the other things that I do on the channel, with or without initial support, and I really hope there is support. If there is support, if you're out there, you want to see more of this, you already know about this game, drop a love, click that like button, leave that comment to help with that algorithm, because I do still have a small channel in regards to YouTube and the size that is out there. I have every intention of a full Let's Play for this one, and without further ado, let's play some War Hospital. The war that was supposed to end all wars turned into one of the greatest human catastrophes of the 20th century. One of the few who tried to preserve a semblance of humanity were members of the medical corps, the parties of this conflict. What you will experience in a moment is both our vision of these activities and the tribute to all medical services who contributed to the war. Honor their memory. Brave Lamb Studio is the one who brought you this game. Nacon is the publisher. Thank you, Nacon, for the key for this one. I'm really excited to get going here.
I was unable to stop the events that led to the fact that today I am going to the front and you are no longer there. You cannot imagine how much pain I carry in my heart. With your death, I question the sense of my continued existence.
This must be some kind of joke.
But fate throws me to a place where I might be able to save your colleagues and many others.
Now, one of the images there suggests that with tanks already in existence, we're at the later end of the war, but I think based on the fact that there is a tech tree and you grow through that and you develop through that, we're more into the earlier phase of the war at this stage, but not the very beginning, because trench warfare was not an immediacy in World War I. It was after a period of time, after a period of months before they're going to dig in.
Speak freely, sir. We expected more than just an officer's rank to support our current situation. The Hun could break through our lines at any moment now.
Head Doctor, mind your tongue. This is our new commander in charge. Sir, I'm delighted that someone with your experience is joining us. I recall your work in London very well.
Praveen Kumar, head engineer. If you want something done, you should come to me, sir.
Major Henry Wells. As you all know, I was directed here to manage this hospital. I will count on your professionalism, regardless of your private opinions about me.
If I may, sir, we have wounded that are already waiting in casualty clearing station. We should tend to them first.
Agreed. We should not let them wait any longer.
To start, decisions must be made about their fate, sir. Their files are already waiting for you in casualty clearing station.
This game comes with a very detailed story mode style tutorial, and I've been through that, so I'm ready to go ahead and play the game sandbox style and get right on with that story. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the tutorials. However, if you do decide to pick this game up, I strongly recommend first time playing through the tutorial, as it will greatly help you with the strategy within the game, and it's a tutorial that's well done. The game is not hard to pick up the premise and where you need to go, what you need to do, and as you play a little bit, you'll find that certain things are going to be more helpful to you in early stages than others. But that tutorial is very helpful, so do play it the first time. I'll go ahead and turn it off for now. Alright, let's go ahead and get a lay of the land before we break into gameplay so you understand what is going on here around you. Beginning with the date and time at the bottom, our time management, 1, 2, or 3 times speed plus pause. We have personnel staff points, so that's acquiring new staff. Depending on what you're trying to acquire, different levels of staff have different values that they're going to cost to bring in, so you can't just hire everyone instantly. You've got to come up with the points. We also have military drafts. Interesting one on how this works, but it's how you bring in resources other than producing them yourself. Some of the resources that we have are alcohol. We have our food rations. Then specifically supplies that are always going to go directly to patient care. We have chemical medicine supplies. We have trauma medicine supplies. And we have our general surgical supplies. And then one additional resource is freight. The freight goes hand in hand with what we're getting in terms of supply. And you can see here, we have a train arriving in just about 30 seconds. At the top, we do have a timeline here, and this timeline has to do with the front and impending attacks. We'll go over more of that in time. Here is our human lifesaver counter. Humanitarian number of patients that we have healed versus being ruthless, patients that do not survive. And there will be plenty of patients that do not survive. Medicine in this era is still a bit iffy. The first era, the first period of tremendous breakthroughs in medicine is going to be the American Civil War. And yes, that is quite some time before this one. We're talking about 60 years plus before World War I. This becomes the second great era of medical innovation. And even though what anyone would consider the greatest advancements in medical history, none of them actually come out of World War I. It's really the period that kickstarts advancement. Things really begin to take off post or during World War I. So it really does have a huge role. And there are some advancements that we'll get into as we go through this playthrough. The rest of this is kind of your menu shortcuts, upgrades, things you can do as you play the game. We'll get into those in time. But zooming out a little bit, here is our medical area that has been repurposed from general buildings of a small town center into a medical ward. We'll get to these kind of one by one as we go through, but we are immediately into some patient care right from the get-go. We have our casualty clearing station. So these are the casualties that are coming in, those who have been wounded and need care. First off, we have to have assignments. We have medics. The medics are used to transport, so they don't do care themselves, not exactly. But what they do, they serve as our just general movement characters. They're going to move patients from one place to another, bring them from station to station. So we begin the game with 3 teams of medics. We have one that would for 2 work in the casualty clearing station, so we're going to stick them in there right away. That's where we need someone right now anyway. There is a cemetery here, so let's see, would prefer to work at the casualty clearing. Would like to work on specific shifts. We're going to assign them to the cemetery. Like I said, there are going to be patients that do not make it. We might even find ourselves lucky, at least early on, if we're able to save half. Likewise, we have nurses. Nurses are going to help with various activities. We have the casualty clearing station where they can improve the state of the patients, or they can help in the operating ward where they improve the effectiveness of operations, or the big one where the nurses do all of the heavy lifting is the rehabilitation center, and we're definitely going to need to get one of them assigned there right away. Both of them just have shift requirements, so it doesn't matter which one we bring over. Our next group of workers are the engineers. The engineers are going to do the construction, are also going to handle the production of resources so that we don't have to have everything shipped in via train. They don't unlock initially, so it's going to take us a while to get to them, but we will have scouts at some point as well. And as someone who served as a scout in the U.S. Army, we'll definitely want to get to that one. We're going to begin the game with just a single doctor, a single surgeon, Peter Vermount, who is from the U.S. He's going to be stepping in and handling all of our surgeries early on. We're going to want to get him help as soon as possible. This is going to be a very important screen. This is probably the most important of all the screens we're going to encounter in this game. And this is where we make the decisions regarding who is attended to and when and by whom. A lot of things come up here that are very important. Now, right now we only have that single surgeon. He is already well rested, so he is ready to go for surgery. We do have a single patient right now who is in good he's in a good state right now, down to terminal. Doing an operation is going to cost us 4 surgical supplies. The operation is going to take less than an hour. The difficulty of the operation is a 2-star operation out of a possible 6. So the operation is not that difficult. However, the failure chance is incredibly high, 6 stars. Meaning, even though the surgery is not that hard and he's in a good state, there's an incredibly strong likelihood that he is not going to survive this operation. But from here, we're going to go ahead and assign him and get him going. Some other things that are here. We have the number of surgical resources that we have. We're going to use 4. We own 40. We're okay. There's nothing else left to decide after that. This manila folder down here, Facecam covers it up just a little bit, but it says the word denied. We're going to have to make difficult choices. We are not going to be able to save everyone, and Plenty, and in all likelihood, potentially this guy right here, Plenty will not survive the operations as it is. Saving the resources, saving the time, are going to be important decisions to make because lives are at stake. Alright, so you can see that things move in real time around the map. Our medical teams aren't just instantly somewhere. Our doctors aren't instantly somewhere. Everything takes time. So this is very much a real-time strategy game, though it is a pausable real-time strategy game. Staff lodging is going to be very important as we have to rest our staff. Eventually we'll get them on shifts, though we don't even know how to do that right now. This medical ward is in terrible shape as far as things go. We're going to get notifications coming up here on the left as we go through. So nurse assigned. They want us to get a nurse assigned. Okay, that's what's the complaint there. Let's go ahead and assign a nurse. Alright, so looking at supplies, we have enough of everything right now. That patient already died. Just seconds in. That's by design. That was part of the tutorial. So he was always going to die. But we now have a team of medics that are coming to take that patient. They're going to bring him over to the cemetery and bury him. They're buried right on site. Reason being, casualties are too high. There's not enough logistics in place to take the deceased back home. And so they're going to be buried right here in this cemetery. We have a warehouse for supplies. That's where they're stored, obviously. We have a pharmacy where we can start producing resources ourselves, particularly the medical ones are going to be produced at the pharmacy. The operating ward, obvious. The casualty clearing station we've already covered, and we have 2 new patients that are there. So let's go ahead and make decisions regarding them. And now we have a chance. Now we have an opportunity to maybe save some lives. Vermouth is still well rested because he was on the operating table for like 3 seconds when the guy died. It's unfortunate we had to waste some resources because of that tutorial automatic. But what we have here is a 3-hour surgery, 2-star difficulty. Both have a decent chance of dying. There's also the wound severity. The worse the wound, the faster the patient's state will deteriorate. Okay, so they're both wounded pretty bad, actually. Let's take the easier, faster one, and then we'll get on with the longer surgery after that. And so we'll get that going as we continue on into the day. But the staff lodging is going to be about rest and recovery for the staff. The canteen, anyone who is familiar with the word anyway, unless you're super young and haven't heard that one before, the canteen is where everyone's going to eat, and that's going to use our rations up, and you can determine how much everyone is eating, and that will impact things like morale. Survival and death rates are going to be the biggest impacts on morale as you go through. We're starting right at 50%, and then we immediately take that first casualty, so our morale is 49%. We have a train station down here. Train just arrived with supplies. It's bringing us freight. It brought us, I think, some food. The train station is going to be one to keep an eye on because timeliness of the train is actually kind of important on how you utilize it, because it's going to bring you helpful things from time to time, but if you don't use it properly, you're not going to get those bonuses. Rehabilitation center is where patients that have survived the operations, successful operations, are then transferred to rehabilitate. After rehabilitation, we then are going to have the chance to make a decision on what to do with those patients. Do we send them back to the trenches? Do we send them to headquarters? Or do we release them from duty? Are they released from service? You can see that one will grant us morale. This one will grant us military drafts. Like I said, that's an interesting currency that you have right there. And sending them back to the trenches will give us combat power. And that combat power is going to be important as we go forward. But we've got to progress the story a little bit to get into that one before I give you too much detail there. But one of the big things that we need to be doing, and while we also have a scout tent and an engineering depot over here, and then further up we're going to have some things towards the front like an advanced dressing station. This is our area of operation. This is where we are going to be working. We do have a front. Like I said, we'll get to that a little bit later, but in the meantime, want to see what we can do to start progressing, because that progression is going to be really important in this game, especially early on. So there are camp improvements. We already have a surgery ward. We have the rehabilitation center. We have the casualty clearing station. This is the healing tab for our camp improvements, but that's all we have is those 3 basic things unlocked. There is housing. We have the staff lodging unlocked. There's production, where we have a canteen, an engineering depot, and a warehouse. Scouting is not yet unlocked, and we're going to have to progress the story before we can unlock the scout tent a bit. So in the meantime, we want to start looking at what potential advancements there are. And this is where not sending soldiers back to the front, but getting them to survive becomes important, because to do these research projects that the engineers carry out, they come at a cost. They come at a cost of time, they come at a cost of freight. The freight's easy to recover. The time is not a big deal. It's just the engineer's time. We manage that. The other one is the military drafts. These military drafts are something that you have to take survived patients and not send them to the front. You have to send them to HQ. That makes HQ stronger, and therefore we can make more improvements. It's a weird system. You're sacrificing what you need the most for what you need the most. You have to balance that. You have to decide from time to time which one's more important. But improves surgery ward. So improving the surgery ward allowing for an extra surgeon slot. Incredibly important early on for survivability. So we're going to go ahead and assign an engineer to this. I wish it wasn't click and drag. Click and drag would work fine if not for the fact that my mouse, I have a new mouse on the way. This one has been dying of late. It's not the game that's having an issue. It's my mouse that's having an issue. Other icons that are going to pop up for us from time to time. This is an active surgery. The red bar is how far it's progressed. We're at the tail end of the surgery. He's still alive for now. And then this one, this is our timer for the upgrade. The engineer has just arrived. The timer does not begin until he gets on site. And on site depends on where the upgrade is taking place. This is an upgrade to the operating ward, making a second station for another surgeon to come in. Therefore, our engineer left staff lodging, walked across to the operating ward, and then began that timer, which will take 14.5 minutes. Surgery was successful, so now we have our team of medics who are then going to come over, grab the patient. They're going to bring him down to the rehabilitation center. I'm going to speed this up as we do this process. And you can see him there on a stretcher coming to the medical tent and dropping him off. Task not done, right? We're going to have to go a step further. We have to go to that casualty clearing station, pick up another one, and then bring him over to the operating ward before the next operation can begin. And that's why just simply having a single medical team at station to station is not enough. You're going to need additional. We want more staff as time goes on. But we have a lot of limitations that are going to, well, make that a little more complicated. That was an ambulance coming back from the front, and it's brought in, it's like 2 patients. So that ambulance just brought us 2 patients. You can see the severity is more severe here. We're talking about 3 hours. Survivability is the same for each. This is definitely a more complicated one. We're already at the point where we're not looking so great when it comes. I think the shorter is going to be exhausted by the end. That decreases the chances of success. We're going to swap these two because the severity means he's going to drop in condition faster. So if he's going to have a chance at survival, we're going to throw in rest. So you have to manage the rest of your surgeons. There's a lot to manage. There's a lot to get right and balance. I really like how that adds to the strategy element of this game. It's a very deep strategy. It's not so simple, for sure. Even though we do have an upgrade on the way, and we can't do anything following that upgrade as that one is still pending, we can do multiple upgrades at the same time, as long as we have the engineers available to work on them. Multiple engineers on the same project will make a project get done faster, but overall it just shortens the time frame. It doesn't say cut it in half and then cut it down to a third. It just cuts out a little time. So it's almost better to do multiple projects at the same time than it is to throw multiple engineers on the same project. But one of the first things that we want to get going, besides having a second surgeon, is we want to add an x-ray machine to our ward. It's going to increase chances of operation success by 25%. That's a pretty healthy increase. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that project as well. And we have one more engineer waiting in our staff area. And again, you can see engineer on the way. So just trying to make that one perfectly clear. And until the project is actually complete, we have a limitation on the staff side of it. Oh, actually, no. We've already started the project. We can go ahead and use 5 points. So this is where this becomes important. We have 10 staff points right now. It's going to cost us 5 to get another surgeon. But that means I have 5 additional points. I want an engineer. That's going to be 2. I would like to get another medic team. That's 3. And a nurse team. We're going to go ahead and spend, somehow, we've got a discount. It's costing 5, but it's actually only costing 4. So that's going to spend 9. We'll go ahead and take care of that. Reason being is everything's going to happen faster with the staff to make that happen. Does mean that we're going to go through food quite a bit faster. We've got to feed those people. The food is something that can be dealt with in time. We need the assistance because we need patients to survive. Many will die, but we need patients to survive. It's going to be critical to the success of the series.
Sir, operation was successful.
Second surgery was a success. That's bringing us 2 patients to the rehabilitation center. Now you can see each patient has time. Takes some time to rehabilitate. It's not immediate, but we've got to start making decisions on what to do with them. And both of them are going to be fully capable in terms of combat power. Fully capable, which is good. We definitely want them to go. It's also going to give us a 3% morale boost for each of them. This is a good start for us, and we're going to want to go ahead and send them back to the trenches. Once their rehabilitation is done, they will head back to the front and give us that 6% boost to morale, which is certainly going to be helpful. From time to time, events are going to pop up, and you're going to have to make decisions. Sometimes those decisions are going to be unavailable because you don't have what's required. Like, we don't have amputation tools. So we have 2 choices of what would have been 3 choices otherwise. So we can increase the cost of the surgery. We can cut down their rehabilitation time by 12 hours. Here's the situation, by the way. It appears that the patient's leg is infected. We would normally need to amputate, but it seems that he responds well to the medicine, and we have high hopes that it will be enough to save his leg. We can cut the rehabilitation time down by 12 hours. We can cut down the chance of failure from 2 stars to nothing, and the time down to almost nothing for an increased cost. Or we can fight off the infection using normal medicine, which is going to bring him down to just a small chance of failure without the extra cost, but also without the rehabilitation. It's only 1, so we're going to go ahead and spend it. Though we are down to 20 resources already. Once we have some engineers free, we need to get somebody assigned to the pharmacy to start producing our general surgery supplies. More patients coming in. Looks like 2 new patients coming in. Yes. And we have a decision on one of them. The X-ray. The X-ray is ready. Oh, our new doctor is here. Okay, the new personnel have arrived. Yes. Just in time with 2 new patients. Both are fairly severe. We're talking about 3 hours or 2 hours. Oh, gosh. Which order to go? We'll do it this way. This one's still good. We are assigning Vermouth to take a rest. He's going to go to sleep for 8 hours or something like that, and then come back before he does this surgery. So this patient does have to wait quite a while. But, again, we put him in this position because his injury is less severe, which means he's going to deteriorate more slowly, giving him a better chance at survival, while giving this guy a better chance to survive. And we've operated on him. It looks like it's a success. It just hasn't been moved yet. Is that our medical team? It is. Our medical team is exhausted, but we do have a new medic. Alright, so we've swapped out our medics' crews. Meanwhile, our nurses, we do have 1 spare. Let's go ahead. She does not have any preference. We'll bring her into the casualty clearing station. Rest the other one. It's going to take her 4.5 hours to get refreshed. I think we'll put her in the operating ward eventually, but that rehabilitation center is the one that you've got to keep going. I didn't realize the pharmacy was not yet built. I'm going to have to get that built. This one is just time, so that's actually not going to cost us anything. We do have an engineer that is available.
Sir, operation was successful.
Another successful operation. That's 3 in a row. That's a good start, but we're going to get a lot of patients that do come in that are just going to be beyond saving. Right now, things are a little easier than they will be here shortly. Pharmacy construction has completed. That finally gives us the opportunity to get in and start creating medical supplies, which we desperately need. We only have 15. Meanwhile, another successful operation now puts us at 4 in a row. With the pharmacy constructed, we're now producing surgical supplies through our engineers.
Multiple casualties. The 36th Division is in retreat.
Oh my, that is terrible news.
So big news from the front. Front lines have
Another batch
been
of those poor
breached.
bastards will be here soon. I'll better check our stocks.
What about the hospital? Are we to evacuate the facility?
No, sir. HQ gives us no such orders, sir. In fact, there were no orders for us.
So even though the front lines have been breached, there are no orders to retreat. The trench lines are extensive. Well, it's early in the war. They're not as extensive as they might be later on, but they're extensive enough. We now have to start thinking about things a little differently than before.
There's survivors from our forces in the north.
6 new patients have been brought in. 6.
Lieutenant Colonel
That's
Angus
a lot.
McFidlin, commanding the 36th. My orders are to set up a temporary line of defense north of here, but I will not be able to do that with our limited forces.
I understand. How can we help, Lieutenant Colonel?
Heal as many of the soldiers from the front line as possible. Having them reinforce our defensive line will help our men significantly.
How many do you need?
As many as you can provide, I'm afraid. Intelligence reports suggest that Germans will launch an attack on our position on the 8th of June, probably around noon.
What about reinforcements from HQ?
There will be none. Not until the 21st of June at least. HQ is gathering forces and regrouping for a major counter-offensive. Our orders are to survive on our own till that day.
On our own? This is a hospital, not a military camp. How do they expect us to manage that?
We will be given the best intelligence reports they have. We will know about every attack and the estimated size of the attacking force in advance. That's the best HQ could give us.
I understand, Lieutenant Colonel. There are old trenches nearby. You can set up defenses there. We will try to send enough men to survive enemy attacks.
Alright, so the main story mission that's playing off here is that it's not just a matter of trying to keep patients alive. It's going to be that we also have to fend off attacks, or have to assist fending off attacks at the front. And we have to get enough survivors back to the front to tip the balance in our favor. That's going to be the key to this game going forward. That's the pressure element where it's success or fail. Because if the camp is overrun, our medical ward is overrun, that's it, it's game over. So our first major order is that there's a counteroffensive coming on the 21st of June. We have to survive that long. It's the 7th of June, so we've got 2 weeks until that comes. But in the meantime, there's going to be minor skirmishes. We have to have enough survivors kind of time by time as we go through that. Pausing for just a moment, we now have some new indicators, and that is the first wave. The first attack is going to be on the evening of the 8th. Blue, that's good. Means we already have enough combat power to fend off that attack. Looks like we actually already have enough to fend off the following attack as well. Having those 5 straight successes have helped tremendously with that activity, but we now have a whole lot of patience. And if we're going to keep pushing and keep building and get through the harder and harder attacks that are going to come, we're going to have to get more and more survivors to the front. And that is also why I made this very early push to start getting some upgrades happening. But in the meantime, we're going to have to start sacrificing some survivors to HQ to get more drafts. So with 8 to decide, things are getting tricky. And you can see from this group, none of them are below 3 stars. They are all 3 to 5 star casualties. We've got one that's already serious, and the failure chance is very high. I'm going to go ahead and take him right into the denied category, and that cuts us down by 1. Everybody else has a chance at 3 or 4 stars of survival. We do have some more difficult ones and some easier ones. Oof. Okay, he's going to be exhausted. He's actually resting now. Resting. Let's not assign you anything yet. He is well rested. So that guy is ready. So we're going to get him on that first. Let's start with the... Okay, this one's going to last a long time. He's stable. We're going to wait. these 3-star guys that are already just stable. I think we need to be starting with them. We'll start with just those first couple. We'll come back to this shortly. We do have 2 in our rehabilitation center. No, but we're doing pretty dang good on the front. I'm going to send one of them to HQ. We'll send one to HQ, one to the front, so we have some upgrade points. We do still have some upgrade points right now, though. We have 4, and I think we should use them. The production side becomes pretty important because of the resources. The watermill is going to give us the ability to start producing rations, and as we've been bringing staff in quickly, that's expensive rations to try to bring in through the train. So we're going to want to get that one done. We have 2 guys in the staff lodging, so we'll put them in.
Sir, patient is cured.
There we go, and we're already back up to 6. So checking out the train station. This is where things happen. You have your schedule, and you're going to see from the trains that have come in, personnel stops you from getting other things. And so each train we've had has mostly been freight, but also it's been some rations, and those rations really help us a lot fend off running out of food. But each time we do something else, it's coming at the expense of not getting the freight, of not getting those food rations. So we just did another personnel thing. We sent somebody to HQ, and as a result, we've found ourselves in this situation. So it almost makes sense. It does make sense strategically to start getting a group waiting together at a place such as the rehabilitation center, and then sending them all at once to HQ as a group, and using that one train for all of them, as opposed to splitting that up one by one by one. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make the game a lot harder on yourself, or a lot easier on yourself. Gotta play smart. He's not well rested yet, but we do have a now rested second surgeon. We need to get on with the operations. These ones being stable, I think it's all the more reason to kind of begin with them. Looking at a hard surgery, 6 hours. We're going to go with the one that uses less resources, as we're pretty low on those. Follow it up with a short one, because it's not showing him as being exhausted by the end of that. He'll have to rest after that. Now this is a game that you can very much play a lot faster. It makes it harder to get that decision making and more time intensive, or you can take your time and make the decisions. But one of the things is you definitely need to keep things on the go. Gotta keep moving, gotta stay active, but you also have to keep resting your staff. Getting the
Sir, operation was successful.
Shifts sorted out will help us a lot. But another successful operation, 6 in a row, that is what we call a fantastic start. Very different than when I went through the tutorial, for one thing. Very, very different, where we had negative balance at this point. I think we had 4 dead and 3 survived at this stage. So don't expect that everyone's going to encounter the same level of success that I've had, but so far so good. Well folks, now we've had a chance to see an episode, our first here, of this new Let's Play of War Hospital. If you've liked what you've seen here, please take a moment, drop below if you didn't do this at the beginning of the episode, click that like button, leave that comment to help with the algorithm. It really does go a long way. It's how YouTube works, it's how it functions, and until you have a giant channel, you have to keep begging for help, and here I am begging for your help. Really, really does impact the visibility of this, and with a new title, it's not necessarily going to be widely known, so that algorithm becomes all the more important. Ooh, 2 decisions to be made here. Let's go ahead and make these before we get out of here. So we have continuous procedure or a longer operation to lower. We're going to lengthen the operation to lower the chances of failure. We'll go ahead and do that. And then in the other one, we only have one choice. A longer operation and longer rehabilitation. This hip was in worse condition than expected. That's going to happen. That's the thing. A lot of curveballs thrown at you, a lot of variables. Keeps it interesting. Definitely keeps it interesting. Supplies are very low though, with just 11. We might have to use the train to bring in some additional, because at this point we're not keeping up. We don't have enough engineers to really keep on top of the production over the rate of operations that we have right now. So it's all a little bit tricky keeping up with certain things. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.